Chevanarottamam devim sarasatim vyasam tato jayodhyarat nashtaprayasho bhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevya bhagavati uttamashoki bhaktir bhavati naistiki nigama kalparuru garitam param shukamakaram rita dravi samvitam pivata bhagatam rashamaryo mahorahoru sikabhuvivakaham Krishna swadama bhagade dharmikin hisha karanasta dushamasha paranako dunoditam Tamapiyadabhishuta Vishutam Vibhusam Yapyadena Vidambiducharam Prakyahidaho Maharadam Sanklesha Nirvanamusanti Nanyataham Chakpasharanam Charanam Bhusham Hare Bhajana Pakvatopadetiri Karavaravudirum Kovatatam Bhajatam Shadamadaham Om Aganati Miranda Shankana Sadakya Chaksurun Minitam Yanatashmai Sri Garave Namaham Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yanabhutare Swayam Rupa Karamayam Darati Swaparantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Siyata Parakamanam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagadatam Sahagana Ganatam Vitam Stam Sadevam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakan Vitamscha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pastaya Bhutare Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Tanamane Namaste Sarasati Devi Guruvani Pachari Nirvishesa Sunyori Bhaskata Desana Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sari Gaur Bhaktavrindam Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare. Good morning, Rob. Good morning, everybody. It's taking me a little while to get used to this new look on Facebook where the comments are on the side, so bear with me. I can see so far that Anjali has jumped on board. Thank you, Anjali. She did single-handedly for my Saturday night talk. We had 44 comments and 40 of them were from Anjali. Way to go, Anjali. Jaya Shri Radha, also a profuse commentator S. She says, made it. She's so busy over there in Florida. She's got this wonderful store with all kinds of wonderful. Nothing in her store is second class. It is all first class. If you want first class paraphernalia for worshiping your deities or setting up your altar, contact, what is it, Radhika Store? I'm not sure what you call it. You can put an actual name and link on the Facebook page if you like, Jaya Shri Radhe. But thank you very much for joining us. Thank you, Anjali. Can't really tell at this stage. I still haven't cracked the code of how to see everything in this new configuration. William, shout out to Los Angeles. Thanks for joining us. We have those 3 comments. We don't have any indication of how many people are on there live. I don't have any response from clicking the image, the video on Facebook. So anyone, if anybody has any advice, those who are more technically savvy than myself, please do so. How are you this morning, Rob? Are you there, my man? All right, he's out in the garden, I think, which is where I'm headed later on today as well. It's a glorious time of year. The temperatures in Utah are about 65 during the day. The parrots go outside every day in the aviary. Lots and lots of tourists come. They shop in the gift store. They bring carrots and apples for the animals. They also patronize the buffet. And as you can hear from outside my window, the peacocks are fully involved, absorbed in their mating season, as are the llamas. Our stud spends most of his time looking longingly with his head over the fence, just imagining what he could do were he get in a pen with one of those females. And the females also, because of the season, seem ready and willing. But we have other thoughts on our minds this morning. We think of the swan-like men who have given up all material sensuality in order to enjoy themselves through pleasing the senses of Krishna. Senses must be pleased. We have to do the best that we can for ourselves and our loved ones. Prabhupada says it's not a question of not enjoying. We're all pleasure-seeking living beings. Look at Krishna. Look at how much fun Krishna has. Anando Maya Vyasa. Krishna lives in an ocean of pleasure. All the pleasures of this material world, all rolled up into one. the pleasures of all the famous, rich, and beautiful people throughout all of history, balled up into one, wouldn't equal one atomic fragment of one billionth part of the ocean, of the nectar of devotion, the pleasure that Krishna has. And those who connect themselves with Krishna as his devotees, they also experience pleasure even greater than that of Krishna himself. And Krishna wanted to find out what the super excellent pleasure of a devotee was. He incarnated as his own devotional incarnation, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So the pleasure which is felt in serving Krishna, even Krishna himself is curious to know and to taste that pleasure. Here we are back again, part 2, 11th verse, 5th chapter, 1st canto, Srimad Bhagavatam, Tad Bhagvi Shargo Janataga Viprajo, Yajmin Prati Shokam Abhida, Namami Antasha Turubira, Guyani Badani Kitani Chashmaran. That literature, which is full of the descriptions of the transcendental glories of the name, fame, form, pastimes, the unlimited Supreme Lord, is a different creation, full of transcendental words directed towards bringing about a revolution in the impious lives of the world's misdirected civilization. Such transcendental literatures, even though imperfectly composed, are heard, sung, and accepted by purified men who are thoroughly honest. The power of such literatures is such that Prabhupada came to America with some printed versions of the first canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. It came in 3 volumes. The printing was not up to the glossy standard of bestsellers. And he kept those books in an old trunk. If you go to India, they sell these metal trunks. They're stacked up 20 or 30 high. They cost hardly anything. They easily get dented, but they have a lot of durability. They have a little lock. You can lock them. Prabhupada brought one trunk of books. That's all in a cheap trunk, which can be bought on any corner in any commercial area of India, with poorly printed Srimad Bhagavatams, but we call them weapons of mass instruction. Those books had one trunk full of books. Think of it as a seed. That seed which was transplanted, Prabhupada brought that seed on the Jaladuta from India to America and planted the seeds from that trunk in America, and now there's tens of thousands of Christian devotees, 800 Christian temples all over the world. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu predicted that the chanting of Hare Krishna would spread to every town and village in the world. So back in 1981, from our position in Los Angeles, we launched out to Utah, figuring that if Krishna consciousness is going to come to every town and village of the world, that includes Spanish Fork, Utah. And if it's inevitable, then it might as well come sooner than later. So we arrived here in the 80s, and we're still here, still nourishing and watering the original seeds, which originate from those transcendental literatures, the Srimad Bhagavatam, the beautiful story of the absolute truth. The Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself indicated that we need to nurture, we need to protect our seed of knowledge, our seed of love of God, keep it from being trampled by wild beasts that might come through our garden, keep it fenced off, keep the weeds of material desires away from it, keep them from choking it. And the main way that our devotional creeper becomes challenged is through undesirable association. This is a very strong statement by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the Chaitanya Chandrodaya Nataka, 8th chapter, 27th verse, where Lord Chaitanya himself is quoted as having said, Niskinchana Shah Bhagavad Bhajan Makasha Parampara Jigamashar Bhavasharar Sandarshan Vishayana Matayoshanam Cha Hahanta Hanta Vishadoa Charam. For a person who seriously wants to go from one side of the ocean of material birth, death, disease, and old age, to find the terra firma, the shore of the spiritual world, never again to revolve in the cycle of birth, death, disease, and old age, the number one thing they have to do is give up the association of sense gratifiers. Men who are only interested in chasing after women, and women who encourage that. This area of endeavor, this area of activities, is so antithetical to the forward progress of the soul that it is very aggressively asserted that you'd better drink poison. You'd be better off drinking poison to die and get another body than to continue on in a body that's addicted to women, intoxication, carousing, and sense gratification. And one has to give that up. But it's very easy to give it up when you have better association, isn't it? It says, Visha vinivartate nirahasha shabardinam, Raja homapisha param drishpa nivartate. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, it's easy. Visha vinivartate. Visha means poison, basically. Visha nirahara shabardinam. It's easy to give up those things which are dangerous to our well-being, dangerous to our health, antithetical to our spiritual progress if we get something better. You can't just give up undesirable association. Well, true, I've known them since high school. If I gave them up, I wouldn't have any friends. We're not asking you to live lonely, depressed, downcast. But until you give up your undesirable friends, the friends who are dragging you down, the friends who compromise, the friends who don't have a vision for their life, till you give them up, Krishna's not going to send you better friends. That's the unfortunate fact of the matter. You can't keep your current friends and wait and have Krishna send you new friends and then give up your current friends. You have to make that step of faith. Faith is the key to unlocking the doors to the kingdom. You have to believe what Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was saying in this verse, that undesirable association is poison for spiritual life, and give up the association of those people who are addicted to intoxication, who talk loosely about breaking their marriage vows, about chasing after women, taking intoxicants, who endorse it, who even promote these things, who speak with profanity. One must first distance oneself from these people in the mode of passion and ignorance before Krishna is going to send you better friends. We're not suggesting, please don't misunderstand us, that you go friendless, lonely, desperate. But it is a fact that until you give up the bad, Krishna's not going to send the good. He wants to see what you can do. It's like a test. Take that little small step of faith. Begin to distance yourself. Don't go to them and say, True says I can't hang out with you anymore. Please, don't quote me on this. But love them, but just love them from greater and greater and greater distances. You don't want to hang around with people who don't care about their own spiritual life, because if they don't care about their own spiritual life, they don't care about your spiritual life. You don't want to hang around with people who don't care about their own finances, because if they don't care about their own finances, they certainly don't care about your finances. You don't want to hang around people that put their own marriage in jeopardy by running around on their spouses, because then they don't care if they put their own marriage in jeopardy. They don't care if they're going to put your marriage in jeopardy either. If they don't care about their health, they eat all kinds of high cholesterol foods and cruelty-based diets. If they don't care about their health, they're not going to care about your health either. You must avoid these people. How many people are walking around in America with amputated legs and arms, with paralysis, with lifelong infirmities because they were in a car with someone who didn't care about their own health and safety? Now, if you're in a car that doesn't care, with someone who doesn't care about their own health and safety, then read my lips, they don't care about your health and safety either. So when you hang around with fools, you get the flack. You don't necessarily become a fool. You can see them for what they are. But not only do you have to see them for what they are, but you have to realize they're not part of your destiny. Don't hang out with them. Don't go out to movies and bars with them. Don't ride in cars with them, because they're not going where you are going. So if they're not going where you're not going, then you don't want to go where they're going, to bars, to cinemas, and you don't want to be in the car with them. Does that make sense? All right. You have to preserve, you have to look out for yourself. Call it self-defense. Call it survival of the fittest, whatever you want to call it. But you don't want to get the flack from other people's poor choices. You can love them, you can give them a good advice, but don't make them in your inner circle. Don't spend significant amount of time with them. Lord Chaitanya was asked by one devotee, what's the main business of someone who's just getting their devotional feet? They're learning to walk, so to speak, from a devotional point of view. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, if you want to keep moving forward, if you want to get stronger and stronger and stand more and more upright, Asat Sange Tyage Vaishnavachara, Sri Sange Gasha, Krishna Bhakta Ara, you have to give up the association of those who are interested in Asat. Sat means eternal. We are eternal. We come from the eternal spiritual world. We are parts and parcels of the eternal supreme personality of Godhead. And in Sanskrit, as you know, when you put an A in front of something, you negate it. So Sat means eternal, and Asat means temporary. Nasato vadyate bhavo, nabhavo vidyate, ubaryo pridashra, tuanayas tadvadarshane. The definition of that which is real is that which is eternal, in the Bhagavad Gita, 2nd chapter. And the definition of that which is unreal is that which is temporary. Unreal in the sense that it will not last. It's not part of our destiny. We're eternal. This world is temporary. So don't, as an eternal living being, don't hope for satisfaction, meaning, purposefulness, happiness in a temporary world. Don't look for water in the desert, is another way of saying it. Look for water in the jungle. Look for water in the rainforest. Look for water where there's lakes and streams and rivers. Water exists, but not in the desert, friends. Happiness, fulfillment, advancement, abundance, intimate relationships, creativity, insight. They all exist, but I'm sorry to tell you, not in this material world. Save and accept if you hook your chariot to the chariot of the Lord. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. We're not in heaven. We left because we wanted to enjoy sense gratification, and we didn't get that kind of association in the spiritual world. Everybody in the spiritual world, they get sense gratification at a much higher level than we do, but they get it through the Lord. They water the root of the tree. Well, we wanted to live separate. We wanted to live independent. And there was no supportive association for that in the spiritual world. So then we felt in this material world to associate with the other sense gratifiers. And we all get together and we give each other inspiration to exploit the property of the Lord and falsely claim the Lord's property as ourselves. We speak high words. We create constitutions, declarations of independence. We create townships and municipalities, states and nations, all coalitions, all confederations for the purposes of promoting sense gratification. At some point in history, we realized that alone, I can only go so far. Alone, I am pitted against every other individual on the planet. It is said, Yavato Vishaprastas Trilokamaditanam Nashaktamaditesa Pripritayatamiram. It is stated that if there are two people in the whole universe, not to speak of trillions and trillions, if there are two people in the universe, not just on the planet, but in the universe, Bhurbhuvashra, if between the higher and the middle and the lower planets, there's only two people, and they both believe in unlimited sense gratification, eventually the universe itself will be not big enough for those two people. Sooner or later, there'll be the showdown at the OK Corral. Sooner or later, there'll be high noon. One of us has got to go. I don't know how they're going to inject sense gratification with an unpopulated universe, but anyway, this is the statement which was made, I believe, in the 8th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Talks about how sense desires just run rampant. They're like a fire. The more fuel you pour, the more it burns to ashes. Everything around it. Though the only ones that are without material desires are the devotees. Bhukti, Mukti, Siddhi, Kami, Sakale, Shanta. Bhukti, Mukti, Siddhi, Kami, Sakale, Ashanta. Those who want to enjoy the material world, and failing to enjoy the material world, then they want to renounce the material world. Bhukti, Mukti. Siddhi kami, those who want to merge and become one with God. Those who are kamis. There's karmis and there's kamis. So karmis are a category of kamis, as well as mystic yogis, as well as tyagis. Tyagis are also kamis. These are all people with material desires. And it says sakle ashanta. None of them are peaceful. Krishna bhakti nishkama. Nishkama means amongst all different categories of people, the mystic yogis, the fruitive workers, and the seekers of liberation, as well as the renunciates, the only ones who have no material desires, who have no desire, in other words, to live independent from God, who take their pleasure in seeing the Lord happy, take their pleasure through the Lord and not separate from the Lord, only the devotees, Krishna bhakti nishkama, the only ones who are not kamis, who are free from lusty material desires, are devotees, and as a consequence of that, they alone, amongst all different categories of living beings, are peaceful. One should seek such association. Tulyama lavanipi nashargam naparam bhagavat sangi sangasha martanam kimatashishaha. Of all the different types of people that you could associate with, the best are those who are engaged in the devotional service of the Lord, because in their association there are existing all good qualities. There are no negatives, there are no downside. Therefore it is said in the 12th verse, I don't know, Prashad, I really have a weird look on Facebook here. Everything's jammed up and crowded. I get no animation from the screen here, and the comments are off to the side. And also, it's just, I don't know, compared to what it was before, it's just very, very congested here. Raleigh, thank you for joining us. Rakesh, welcome to Transcendental Tuesday, Rakesh. Jaya Shri Radhe, also. Prashant, okay, Prashant's on board. Probably catching some of our references and quotes here. Again, William and Ali. All right. Thank you very much for joining us, steady ones. Jaya Shri Radhe says, I finally just met a devotee who lives near us. Within half an hour, they had left the temple life to live here and found us. I have tried to make friendship, but she is very busy with her mother, so she was not able to break away. Thanks for your comments. Please accept my obeisances. Bhakti Gary, thank you. Subhada, Hare Krishna Subhadra. Sundari Priya, please accept my humble obeisances. Brigu Pandit, it's a new person in our little forum here. Govinda Dev, thank you so much. Jean, I don't think Jean's messed anyone. On the one time on the way back from Alachua Festival of Holy Names, we stopped at Orlando Temple and ended up sitting with an elder devotee who was her first time back to the temple in 30 years. She left her temple service in iskcon 30 years ago because her Catholic mother did not like iskcon. She went with her mother until she finally died, and she finally came back to iskcon that night. Om Govinda. Well, that's an inspiring story. Yeah, it says those who have been devotees and tasted the nectar of the lotus feet of the Lord for some time, and then due to circumstances like having a mother you have to take care of, we're dragged away. It says they're not like the people who never came into contact with Krishna consciousness. Those who never awakened their Krishna consciousness are like orphans. They act without regard to scriptural injunctions, whimsically, capriciously, and there's no one basically in their corner watching their back. On the other hand, those that have performed devotional service and due to circumstances had to get removed from it for some period of time, having tasted the nectar of the lotus feet of the Lord, they can never forget that nectar. So even though they may be out of devotional service for some period of time, they will come back, because having tasted that nectar, you always hanker after enjoying it again and again and again. We're often asked when we do the Festival of Colors by media representatives, we're often asked, does it bother you that people come to the festival and sing and dance and chant with just a party, frivolous attitude? Does it bother you? And we say, no, it doesn't particularly bother us, because the festival is to introduce people to kirtan, to prasadam, to devotee association. All the performers are on one level of devotional service or another. All the food's cruelty-free. I'm the MC, and I try to preach to people as much as possible. It doesn't matter how you start, but what matters is whether you catch up the mood, catch up the idea of enjoying your senses through the service of Krishna, and whether they realize it consciously or not after spending hours on the grounds of the temple, sacred grounds of the temple, taking vegetarian food, hearing the kirtan going on hour after hour, more often than not dancing like until they leave their last drop of energy on the field there. All that youthful energy is expended in dancing and chanting for kirtan. People that have never chanted Hare Krishna or Jai Ram before, they'll come to the temple for the first time and they'll dance for 6 or 8 hours until all their energy is exhausted. And what happens, they go away and they think, yeah, that was different. That was unique. That wasn't like any other rock concert that I've been to. There was no profanity there. There was no mundane sentiments expressed. It was all focused, integrated, and directed towards Krishna's idea of a divine supreme person. It's okay, and they think, they kind of categorize it, and then they think, that was an experience. I could tick it off my bucket list. But there's something that has awakened that wasn't there before. There's a taste that has been awakened. It's like Prabhupada said, when a child is first born, he wants something, doesn't know what it is. He doesn't know what it is. He's looking around, he's hankering, he has an appetite for it. But as soon as the mother gives him breast milk, he says, yeah, that's what I was looking for. So subconsciously, not consciously, because mostly we've been engaged in very, very gross activities, animalistic activities, for who knows how many previous incarnations. So we don't recognize the spiritual, the subtle, sublime right off the bat. But deep down, we resonate. Something stirs from within inside us. Krishna Bhakti Nishkama Taiva. It says, Krishna Baliya Se Jiva Badhir Adir Mukha Taiva Maya Tareda. There's some stirring of a primeval recollection of our connection with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And although we try to just check it off our bucket list or put it aside or categorize it, we cannot somehow or other forget the experience. That the taste, the hankering has arisen in us to experience it again, to go back and repeatedly drink from the wellspring of Krishna's holy names. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. One Facebook comment I remember in the wake of a Festival of Colors a few years ago was, a boy said, I could do that every day. I could do that every day. Yadavi mama cheta Krishna paravra nava rasa dumani alchar tadavari batay nareshane bhavati mukashishnarishivaram cha. I forget whether it was Yamunacharya or Kulashekar, but one of the Alvars. He said, since I have come across Krishna consciousness and I am chanting the holy names of the Lord, I have put aside all dead things, all material things, all dark things, all temporary things, all entangling things. I've graduated. I've experienced the Vishyavena Param Drishtva Nivartate. I've experienced the higher taste of Krishna's holy name, Krishna's prasadam, association, Krishna's devotees. And as a result, Nava Rasha, nothing is old. Nothing is hackneyed. Nothing is, I've been there, done that. Rather, it is Nava Rasha, ever fresh, ever new, ever exciting. He says, now my life is a thrill at every moment. Krishna always has something new out in front of me. My future is so bright, I need sunglasses to approach it. This is the testimony of someone who has recognized the awakening of the taste of long-lost Krishna consciousness and comes back again and again and repeatedly, to drink from that trough, from that stream, from those healing waters of the holy name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Prabhupada says here, a person devoid of devotional service and engaged in material activities has no good qualities. Yashyasti bhaktir bhagavati kinchana sarvaganastatasya haro bhaktasya kutamaha varo manoratanasati navavati pati. What do we hope to be defined by? We hope to be defined by our attachment to Krishna, by our words honoring Krishna, by our meals being offered and consecrated to Krishna first, by our friendships, by the members of our inner circle being Krishna devotees. That's what we want to be. That's how we want to be recognized. That's what we want people to say of us. Oh, they only hang around with devotees. Oh, they only eat prasadam. Oh, they only chant Hare Krishna. They're no fun. Actually, we're the ones that are having fun like anything. The one who is in the internal potency of the Lord, following the footsteps of those more advanced devotees, has all good qualities. One should not try to understand the devotees and the devotees of the devotees following the guidelines, the standards of ordinary morality. Why? Because the standard of morality, the ultimate standard of morality, is what does the Lord say? What does the Lord say about this? What does the Lord want done in this situation? Most of you who've been around for a while know the story of Yudhisthira during the Battle of Kurukshetra. On the other side, Kaurava's side, Dronacharya was devastating the soldiers of the Pandavas. He was killing 10,000 soldiers a day, and unless they could find some way of killing Dronacharya, the Pandavas were going to lose the war. And Dronacharya had a son of whom he was very fond, named Ashwatthama. Dronacharya also had an impenetrable set of armor called Narayana Kavacha. And unless he put aside the armor out of despondency, having given up the fight, nobody could kill him as long as he is armored, facing them in battle. So they had to figure out some way of depressing Dronacharya to the point where he would give up the fight and set aside his armor, at which point he would be vulnerable. And so Krishna told Yudhisthira, shout out in the middle of battle that Ashwatthama is dead. And when Dronacharya would hear from Yudhisthira that Ashwatthama, thinking Ashwatthama, his son, was dead, then they would accomplish their purpose. And why did Krishna tell Yudhisthira to shout it out? Because Yudhisthira was known for never having told a lie in his life. If anybody else had shouted out, Arjuna, Bhima, Nakula, Sahadev, Satyaki, or any other of the Pandava soldiers, Dronacharya would have immediately recognized it as a lie, as a trick. But if Yudhisthira, who has never told a lie, Ajatatru, one who has never told a lie, would shout it out, Dronacharya would believe it. Now Yudhisthira was more attached to his reputation than he was to following the instructions of Krishna. And so even though Yudhisthira told Krishna, I cannot tell a lie, at that moment when he backed out of following the instruction of Krishna, when he passed on doing what Krishna wanted, it is said he became sinful. That was a sinful act. The refusal to tell a lie was a sinful act. Why? Because morality consists solely and wholly in what God wants. We talk about the law of gravity, for instance. There is no law of gravity. Krishna wants what goes up to come down. The law of gravity is what fixes the planets in orbit. Without Krishna's will, that smaller objects are attracted to bigger objects, the whole universe would be null and void. So it is Krishna's good will that there is such a thing as gravity. The laws of physics, the laws of thermodynamics are not actually laws. They are the constant and beneficent will of the Lord, making sure of our survival, even though we've separated and exiled ourselves from the internal energy of the Lord. So there is no other morality other than what it is the Lord wants. And the Lord always wants what's good for all living entities. And sometimes he will contradict ordinary mundane morality, those laws that we establish in order to collectively promote sense gratification. He'll sometimes contradict or contravene or ask a devotee to contradict those normal laws of morality in order to fulfill his will, which is by definition in the best interests of all living entities inclusively, not to the exclusive benefit of human beings, not to any nationalism or ethnicity or gender or even any species. And so the ultimate standard of morality is, does Krishna want it to happen? Now, when Yudhishthira refused to tell a lie, it is said that his chariot began for the first time to touch the ground. Previously, his chariot had gone along several inches from the ground. Now it touched the ground. And later on, Yudhishthira had to see hell just for 5 minutes, but he had to see hell because of his lapse from the ultimate reality, refusing to tell a lie on behalf of Krishna. What is the verse? Dharma tu shakshad bhagavatam navaividurisha nasira marorisha kutashnabhidyaradacha. What is morality? What is religion? It is the codes established by the Lord. That's what makes right, right, and wrong, wrong. What the Lord wants. It's like, why can't we drive on the left side of the road? It's the same thing, left side, right side. Why can't I get up some morning and say, I feel like driving on the left side of the road? Why can't I do that? Because the government has decreed everyone has to drive on the right side of the road. That's in order to do the greatest good to the greatest number of people. You can't drive on the left side of the road because nobody would be able to leave their houses. Everybody in just going down to the grocery store would be putting their lives and the lives of their children at risk. The reason that everybody should drive on the right side of the road is for everyone's general safety and well-being. And the reason we drive on the right side, and say in Australia and England you drive on the left side, why the right side is authorized in America and the left side is authorized in Australia, is because the supreme authority of that country, the government, has said it. You might say it's random. You might say when it all started, they flipped a coin. But that's not the point. The point is that that law, that mode of behavior is authorized by the government for the greater good of all the citizens. And if you disobey that or contravene that, then you're going to get thumped big time. You're going to end up behind bars because you are a menace to society in general. So morality, religion, the difference between right and wrong hinges on one point and one point only. What does the Lord want? And he's an individual, he's a person, and sometimes what he asks his devotees to do may not jive with common ideas of who is good and who is bad. Let's take another example, Maharaj Parikshit. He was the grandson of Arjuna. Arjuna is a personal friend of Krishna. Parikshit was his grandson. Parikshit was born of a great dynasty, all of whom were pure devotees extending back into antiquity. He saw Krishna within the womb of his mother when he got cursed to die due to the bite of a snake bird. Within 7 days, he wasn't chagrined. He wasn't unhappy at all. He was happy that at the end of 7 days he was going to see his worshipable Lord again. So why then, one day, when he was out in the forest, hungry and tired, been separated from his retinue and his bodyguards, came to the ashram of the sage, Samika, I think his name was. The sage was deep in meditation, his eyes closed, fully internally absorbed. Maharaj Parikshit came hungry and thirsty and asked him for some water. The sage didn't respond because he was unaware of his external circumstances. So why then did Maharaj Parikshit become upset, bothered, vengeful, retaliatory? He happened to see a dead snake lying in the vicinity of where the sage was meditating. So in a sarcastic mood, because normally if a visitor comes, especially if he's king of the world, he comes to your humble residence in the middle of the forest. You're blessed, you bow down, you offer him at least a sitting place, a glass of water, and you engarland him with some tulsi leaves or whatever. So Maharaj Parikshit, in order to point out to the sage his omissions of hospitality, garlanded him with a snake, a dead snake, and went away. Why would someone of the stature of Maharaj Parikshit act in that petty, trivial way? We might expect a low-class man to do stuff like that, to be bitter and resentful, retaliatory, but certainly not a pure devotee of the Lord. Mat karma green mad paramo, gunamatam atitutin dehe janma mritu mira vimuktum ritu mashate. Devotees, by definition, have all good qualities. They're within the internal energy of the Lord. They're free from the impulses, the modes of ignorance, passion, and goodness. And it would seem at first glance, superficially, that Maharaj Parikshit was acting in the mode of ignorance. Those who are in the mode of ignorance are very touchy. They take everything personally. They're very quick at giving insults. They want to get down and duke it out with people who either in reality or from a point of view of imagination have insulted them. So it seemed like Maharaj Yudhisthira allowed himself to sink into the mode of ignorance and have a tit-for-tat mentality. And if you calculated that way, using as your barometer the standards of mundane morality, you would have made a huge mistake. You would have become offensive to someone who never ever stepped outside the shelter and protection of the Lord. Someone who was always in the internal potency of the Lord. Believe me, those who are sheltered in the internal potency of the Lord, they never come out of that. Mahatmanas tu mamparta devam prakriti vedanti gadva buddhinam avyayam. Mahatmas, having tasted, having returned, if they were away, they returned, having regained the shelter of the lotus feet, they never a second time ever desert the lotus feet of the Lord. So Maharaj Parikshit, apparently acting like a low-class common man in the mode of ignorance, that would be a great misunderstanding. Vaishnava Kriya Mudra. No one can understand the activities of a pure devotee of the Lord because he's acting directly according to the dictations of Krishna within the heart. Krishna wanted Maharaj Parikshit to be cursed. He wanted him to come to the point of dying within 7 days so that Maharaj Parikshit could display the serenity, the peacefulness for which devotees are known and celebrated, so that he could sit down without taking food or water, hear the 20,000 verses of the Srimad Bhagavatam from the great Sukadeva Goswami. That would be heard and remembered by the assembly of sages, including Sukadeva Goswami. Then it would be spread all over the world, and eventually it would be put down in writing by Vyasadeva, and eventually it would be printed, and eventually Prabhupada would bring those weapons of mass instruction that were given by Sukadeva Goswami to Maharaj Parikshit to the Western world, and would spark the Hare Krishna worldwide explosion of love of God and bring about a revolution in the misguided lives of people in general. Krishna knows what he's doing, friends. And you have to take shelter of his pure devotees and not try to judge them by ordinary standards of morality. Jai Sri Radha is reminding us of people that for one reason or another went out of the association of devotees for 10, 20, or 30 years, eventually came back realizing there is really no alternative in this material world, but be very careful about judging, about being critical of devotees, because almost every leap forward, in fact, the very creation itself, comes from someone having made a mistake. But it wasn't a mistake. It was Krishna dictating to them from within the heart. Brahma, in the very beginning of creation, chased after his own daughter. How is Brahma? He's the head of our sampradaya. How is it that he became attracted by his daughter? That is not anything to do with the external energy. That is the will of Krishna, because out of chaos comes creation. Almost every instructional, teachable moment in the Srimad Bhagavatam, think about it, do your research if you want, investigate it scrutinizingly, and tell me if I'm wrong. Almost every great teaching moment arises out of the mistake of a devotee. And I'm here today to tell you, devotees don't make any mistakes. They shelter 100% and wholeheartedly at the lotus feet of the devotees of the devotees of the devotees of the Lord. And the decisions they make are dictated by the Lord from within the heart for the ultimate long-term benefit of all living beings. Tesham evanu kampartam ahang aganam nisyamayat prabhu gana deepana bashvada. From within the heart, I, dwelling inside of all living beings, destroy with the torchlight of knowledge the darkness born of ignorance. Food for thought today on this Transcendental Tuesday. Thanks all of you for being with me. Rob, are you there yet? Are you out in your garden this morning?
I am, Prabhuji. I was actually just finishing up getting ready for the day.
You want to give us a wrap-up statement or takeaway?
I don't know if it's a total wrap up, but my takeaway is that I need to be more judicial in my association. I can't hold on to old attachments and expect to receive the benefit and blessing of new ones that are more conducive to being in Krishna consciousness. And like you said, it doesn't mean just severing all ties or leaving a message on my answering machine that says that I'm making changes, and if you
leave my name out of it, please.
You are one of these. And yes, I won't say that Caru told me to cut you loose. And it's, for me, it's kind of been happening naturally. As I find more joy and more pleasure in associating with devotees and with other people that are on a spiritual quest, I find that the ones that are not on that quest are not the people that I even desire to be around. They just don't help me feel like I'm doing the right thing. They bring up, they dredge up the old ways, the old habits, and those are things I don't necessarily want in my life anymore. And so associating with new people is important. It's still difficult because I don't want anybody to feel like I'm just don't value their friendship or value who they are as a person. But at the same time, I value who I am and I value good friendships. And so I'm seeking those out as I progress down this path.
And when I see Rod coming to the Saturday night programs in Salt Lake City, he's very good. He's always sitting with a table of young Indians, and they're always deep in conversation. I'm always like, what are they talking about? But Ram, you're very good. You're very, very good at upgrading the circle of your friends. I'm sure I predict success for you in spiritual life because of the way I observe you interacting so nicely with others who are good association, good moral people with a devotional center. So thank you very much for that. Those concluding remarks. I'm having a lot of problem here with the new look of Facebook, but I thank Prashant, as always, for coming on. There's lots of quotes. Encourage you all to follow up on those quotes. Those are breadcrumbs by which you can recreate the stream of our thought here. Thank you, William, for joining us. Ram Kishore, he's got to leave earlier for a meeting. Jaya Sri Radhe says she never wants to be outside of Devotees Association. Always clasp the feet of the devotees who are clasping the feet of the previous devotees who are clasping the feet of the previous devotees who are atoms at the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Bye, Bobby. Thanks for joining us. Scrolling down here, Raquel, good morning. Hare Krishna. Who else have we got? Natasha, Hare Krishna. Britta, thanks for joining us so much. I can't see who hit the like button. It's just not coming up for me. But at least from those who made a comment, I can express our appreciation. Jean Brigu Pandit, a newcomer. Thanks very much. Bhakti Gary again. Gary's sweet guy from Northern California. Rakesh Raleigh. All right. I'm not seeing any new names. Those of you who come on multiple times making comments, thank you. If you have any comments or questions, please give them to me. William Griffith is just sending out the hearts like anything, the hearts and the thumbs up, creating a lot of buzz here from our little corner of cyberspace, hopefully attracting more and more people to intersect with us as we do these Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday classes, and hopefully to expose more and more people to the divine, fulfilling, uplifting, completely blissful and pleasurable culture of bhakti yoga. Lakshmi cooks for his deities on Tuesdays. Therefore, let me see. I've got this tune. I don't know how you describe this tune. I don't know what blues or I'm not sure. But anyway, let's end with a little Harinama Sankirtan. Keep those hearts and thumbs up coming, and make a comment, ask a question. I love questions. I have to cook today, so again, it might not be till later on, but I will get to you. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. One more time. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. William, your thumb must be getting sore from all those hearts and thumbs up, but we appreciate it. However, we feel we should give you a break. Thank you. Natasha, I will answer your question as soon as I can, perhaps a little later in the day after the kitchen service is done. This has been Transcendental Tuesday. Our subject matter is become a devotee of a devotee, and we haven't exhausted that. In fact, we barely entered into that area. We set up the framework for it. We set up the introduction so we can delve into it more fully and elaborately tomorrow. So don't miss tomorrow's episode of the morning Bhagavatam classes. Don't miss Wisdom Wednesday, because we're going to talk about the nectar of serving the devotees of the devotees of the devotees of the devotees. Spend the day on one level or another, out loud, if not out loud, at least quietly chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.